Hey, everybody. Good morning and welcome to another episode of Mastery Monday. Good morning, Carrie. How are you?
Hey, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. You guys, as always, we are streaming in multiple places to make it as convenient for you as possible to tune in and be a part of the community here at EXP and be learning so that you can evolve yourself and your business. And so we are in multiple places. We're in the world. So check us out there. We're also in Workplace and we're live on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you're liking and subscribing so that you get the notification every Monday, Wednesday, Friday that we're going live so you're not missing anything.
Love it. Yeah. And you guys make sure you chat with us in Workplace. And if you don't get the answer, work chat, Haley or I, we're always happy to help however we can.
Yeah, or even just guide you in the direction. Even if we don't have the answers,
Yes.
Carrie and I can make sure that we point you in the right direction to somebody that does. There's lots of resources and tools here, so feel free to ask if there's anything that you need. I'd rather you ask than not ask at all and then feel like you're on an island by yourself. So we're here to help, we're here to guide. And today, we're going to be talking a lot about mindset. Last week, we talked about operations. And I appreciate everybody that reached out and asked about onboarding, which has been like a really hot topic. EXP does an amazing job of providing so many resources and tools for onboarding. And so there are some new resources and tools out there. So if we didn't connect last week, please reach out to me and ask about onboarding. I'm just happy to give you all the information that I have. But today we're talking about mindset. We're going to be talking about how to master your internal validity. So we're going to be really discussing and diving into external results versus internal validity. Are you driving your business based on a scarcity mindset around fear? Or are you living in the present moment and enjoying the pleasure that life has to bring? We're going to dive into that today. But Carrie, let's start by really defining what external results are versus internal validity.
Yeah. So I recently started talking about this, and so I'm excited that we're bringing this topic because it was something that I was reading a little bit about, and then I was realizing that as human beings and with a lot of my coaching clients, this is what we do. Mm-hmm. So as a human being, we need some sort of validation or some sort of signs that what we're doing is making a difference, is being successful, is making an impact. You know, we need to kind of see that the needle is being moved forward in some way, shape, or form in order for us to stay anywhere near motivated to continue to do it. And that can be in health and wellness or relationships or any sort of growth that you're going through, as well as business, right? Or financials or wealth building. It applies to all the things. What we naturally as human beings look for is the external results, the external feedback, if you will. I got an appointment. I've lost a pound. I'm getting more attention from my spouse, like whatever it might be. We're looking for that external validation or that external result that lets us know, okay, you're moving in the right direction and what you did today made a difference, or what you've been doing is moving the needle forward. The problem with that is that we can be doing a lot of things and not get an external result or not get validation from people or things in our business or life at various times for a whole bunch of reasons. And right now is a great example for those of us that are in real estate, where a year ago, we might have been doing A, B, C, and D on a weekly basis, getting X results. And today we're doing the exact same thing, but we're not getting any
results. Yeah.
And so if we're dependent upon those results, we won't continue to show up and do the activities, which ultimately will get us the results we want, but maybe just not in the way that we are used to or want them to, because we are very much, creatures of, wanting things right now, right? We want to see it now in order to keep ourselves motivated. So the concept is, what do you do when you don't have those external results or you don't have external validation for the things that you're doing, in order to know that, yes, I am still making an impact, I am still making a difference, and I am moving the needle forward, even though today I didn't get something from the external world that showed me that. And that's the idea of internal validity, which is we need to go look for those results or that validation inside. Right. And then we don't have to worry so much about getting it from the outside.
Well, and I want to also point out, Carrie, that I think that this can happen in kind of like the opposite spectrum. I've actually worked with a few different people here, even at EXP, who are financially really abundant. Like they're doing financially really, really well, and money continues to pour in. They're doing great at attraction. Agents are signing up, and yet, even though all of the results that they're getting, the feedback that they're getting is that they are moving the needle forward, inside is their internal validity is and their confidence is down,
Mhm.
even though they have more money than they could ever spend in a lifetime.
Yeah.
They have systems and processes and operations that are flowing, and it's a well-oiled machine, but internally they're feeling depressed, or they're
Mhm.
feeling unfulfilled, or they feel like they're not enough. They're not doing enough. They're not being enough. They're not showing up enough. So I think that it can happen in
Yeah.
both, spectrums.
Mhm.
I mean, are you seeing that as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think if everything is dependent upon the outside, you can get pretty lonely or dissatisfied in the inside. And so
Mhm.
not allowing, that's kind of the idea of your joy and your worthiness and your happiness and your satisfaction only comes from the external and the outside, which is a very scary place, because it really should come from within. And no matter what happens on the outside, you should be happy and joyful and feeling worthy and feeling satisfied. And so conceptually, yeah, it's the same thing. I think, the article I was reading was talking more about the motivation, and yet it certainly can just be boiled down to how you feel about yourself and feeling like you do live out a purpose, because you can be very, very successful
Mhm.
and still feel very unfulfilled. That is absolutely the truth.
So then how do we, Carrie, start to master our mindset and start validating ourselves internally, so
Mhm.
that regardless of what is happening externally, we're
Mhm.
not focused on those results. We're really focused on the results that we're getting on the inside.
Yeah, I think it's all about how we measure our success, and we measure our purpose, and we measure, what if a day is good or bad or successful or unsuccessful. It all boils down to the way we think about it. I always tell people nothing's good or bad, right or wrong. It's just the way we think about it. And so if I think that my day was good, then it is. If I think it's bad, it is. And it could be the same day. And so most of the time, because we're so dependent on the external, that's how we're gauging it. That's how we're finding out if it was successful. And
Mhm.
so I always say, we got to actually start internally validating, meaning asking ourselves great questions, maybe setting an intention for the day of what would make the day successful, what would make the day a day that you were living out a purpose, or that you left feeling satisfied, regardless of any result in any part of your life that was coming to you from the outside, that you knew you showed up and did A, B, C, or D. And because of that, you had a good day. So it's resetting the way you think about it and defining what that is, and then setting those intentions, and then using those same intentions as questions at the end of your day to see if you did them, and checking them off the box, checking the box, so to speak, which, that's one way that we as human beings feel like accomplished. We talk to business owners all the time, and they have their to-do list. And if they check a certain amount of them off, they feel like they did something good that day, even if the things they checked off really didn't matter, because it's a little bit of a psychological game
Right.
to play. So this would be something where you get to decide internally what is going to define a good, successful day, a day that you showed up in your best light, that you did something that made an impact, that you moved the needle forward in some way, shape, or form, that you lived out your purpose in some way, so that you can leave that day regardless of anything else and feel good about it. And I think that's where the motivation can kick in, is that you have complete control over all of that. There's zero chance that you can't set that intention and go do something, and you don't have to depend on anything. You can walk away from each day going, I did that. And so that's the key, is that you do have focus on the control, focusing
Mhm.
on control of something that you can control versus something that you can't, which we can't do anything about the external results
Right.
or validity, but we can do everything about the internal. That puts people in a place of empowerment versus hopelessness, which is a whole nother thing when it comes down to motivation.
So I just want to take one step back, because you mentioned you mentioned the idea around success.
Yep.
And for me, what I have found to really help myself is to first start by defining what success looks
Yes.
like for you. I think that that is a great starting point. And so I really want to dive into that a little bit more. I want to share, I know, Carrie, I've probably shared this with you before, but a business coach asked me probably within like the past year, because I was in this place where all of the external results were showing that I was successful, but I didn't feel successful on the inside. And I felt like no matter what I was doing, it was never really enough.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I could see externally that I was making, I had results and I was making an impact, was it really the impact that I wanted to make as a human being? And so she had asked me, how do you measure success? Personally, what does success look like for you? What would you need to have in your life to feel like you were successful? And I actually went in my mind all the way back to myself as a child and what did success look like for me? And I start with this. For me, success was having a trash bags in my house and having a pantry full of food. And
Mm-hmm.
the reason why I say that is because I grew up extremely poor. And
Yep.
I didn't know that I was really poor at the time because most people that we were surrounded with in my
Yep.
community were the same. So I only knew what I knew. But I did know that we never had any trash bags. So for us, my mom would use paper bags from the grocery store, which
Mhm.
really sucked because when you put food in them, what ends up happening,
They're
right?
soggy.
The bottom gets all soggy. Like I would take the trash out and the whole bottom of the trash bag would like fall out. And it was like, so I had to carry like soggy, disgusting trash bags to the trash. And so I told myself, from a very young age, like if I had plastic trash bags and a trash can, that
I'd
would
be
be success for
successful.
me. Like that was my measure of success.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, not to be bougie, but I freaking have like a really expensive trash can that when you walk by the damn thing, it like automatically opens up and it's a whole thing. And like for me, I'm like, I'm successful because I have this freaking awesome trash can. But then also, we never had much food. And
Mm-hmm.
so, going home every day, we couldn't afford like daycare or
Yep.
like after school activities. So I got home, like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was started staying home by myself at a very, very young age. And so I was very like a latchkey kid. And when I would go home, I'd be like starving, but we would never really have much food in the pantry. It would be like cinnamon toast crunch, because even to this day, Carrie, cinnamon toast crunch is the number one cereal. Argue
Hey.
with me and we'll see what happens. That's the number one. So cinnamon toast crunch, we would always have like milk and we would always have Kool-Aid and then usually like some kind of hamburger helper or something in the pantry. That was it.
Yep.
That was it. We didn't have like lunch meat. We didn't have
Yep.
eggs. We didn't have like, maybe might have bread. But so for me, my refrigerator was always empty. What do you think's happened now, Carrie?
You
Shit,
have a full pantry.
a plethora. Like I have probably enough food to feed like my entire block because I just hoard food from Costco.
Mm-hmm.
But that makes me feel safe and
Yep.
it makes me feel successful knowing that I can afford
Yeah.
to buy that. And so for me, I had to really get down to the granular level of what does success look like. And
Mm-hmm.
then from there, once I was able to feel safe
Yep.
with my trash bags, Carrie, with my plastic trash bags, and with my full pantry, okay, what does success look like as a parent? What does
Yep.
success look like as a wife, as a friend? What does it look like as a business owner, as a female business owner?
Yep.
What am I doing to feel successful? And I have to share that starting from that level of
Yep.
like, what did my 10-year-old self need
Yep.
to feel the internal validity of success?
Mm-hmm.
That really helped. So
Yep.
that may help you if you're listening to really get down to what does success look like for me and what do I need in order to feel successful? Because for some of us, it's not money.
Yep.
It's not money. For some of us, it's having a business partner or opening up your own LLC or having plastic trash bags and a trash can that opens itself. Um, but I did want to share too, Carrie, that in doing some preparation for our session today, I started thinking about some daily habits that have really impacted, at least myself, in understanding what I internally need to feel
Mm-hmm.
successful and how I can feel like I'm enough. So the first habit is meditation,
Mm-hmm.
daily meditation, slowing down so that I can speed up, connecting with myself on in this internal level. I've also found that by adding 10 to 15 minutes of meditation, and I do guided, like Carrie, I'm not an expert.
Mm-hmm.
I do guided meditation because it really helps me to focus in on something. But even breath work, taking 5 to 10 minutes just to do some breath work, like find somebody who can help you do breath work, whether it's on Instagram, YouTube, follow along. It doesn't have to, you don't have to pay for something. This can be completely free. But adding the meditation has greatly improved how I show up as a human being. The second daily habit I want to share is journaling.
Mm-hmm.
Carrie, you introduced me to this several years ago, but I use the gratitude journal. I found this by listening to Tim Ferriss
Oh yeah. Yep.
podcast. And this is a 5-minute gratitude journal. It is guided. And every single day you open it up and it starts with, I am grateful for.
Yeah.
And approaching each day with gratitude, how much does that impact your life? You know, being able to define what you're grateful for. And then the next question is, what would make today great? So you are, like you said, Carrie, you're setting the intention. You're making a conscious effort to make the choice of these are the things that would make today great.
Yeah.
And you put them into action. It is a conscious choice. And I want to really, hone in on that. And then additionally, the third daily habit that I have here is taking the time to be present and still, being in the now, being in the present moment. Carrie, one of the very, very first masterminds that I ever heard you talking about being still, you had mentioned letting go of all expectations. What would happen if in your life, and even before you approached any conversation or any training or class or whatever it is, what if you let go of all the expectations that things should be a certain way and you just allowed them to flow organically and then be really appreciative and just come from a place of abundance and curiosity? And so those 3 daily habits, they're free. Like I said, this doesn't cost you anything. But I feel like not doing them has cost me more than doing them every single day. So just taking the time to be still and present, journaling and meditation, it's made a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I start my day now. I, have always kind of started my day in prayer, but I've actually recently started my day in scripture, and it's changed everything for me because it does just get you into a place of like whatever it is that you need to connect to yourself and to something greater than you, whatever you believe in. Spending a little bit of time doing that at the start of your day can change everything. And I've seen it change things for so many people. So
Yeah.
the expectations conversation really does go along with this conversation, because when we're talking about external results versus internal validity, part of the problem with the external results is that we have an expectation of what those things should be as well. And 99.9% of the time, our expectations aren't going to be met because we can't control everything. No, nor would we ever guess what something could actually look like, turning out like, right? I mean, the odds of us knowing it to where we can actually expect it to come to reality is such a small chance that we're pretty much setting ourselves up for disappointment. And when we aren't getting those results that we think we should be, it's actually going to create a lot of other feelings of unworthiness and failure, and we don't know what we're doing, and all of the negative thoughts that will push us into scarcity and create more strongholds in terms of our limiting beliefs, and at the end of the day make us extremely unmotivated. So that's where it comes from, is that we can expect of ourselves something. We can expect ourselves to do the 3 habits in the morning that work for us. We can expect ourselves to set intentions every day, and then ask ourselves, which of those things did we actually accomplish and check them off the box? Because we do have control over that, because that's what we are doing. We're choosing that. And so then we don't get into that battle of, expectations versus reality, and nor are we dependent on anything on the outside that's out of our control, which never works out well. So I think that is another whole kind of reason that the external result versus the internal validity can make a big difference for people.
Yeah, I like that you had mentioned control, because Carrie, the only thing that we can control is how we internalize what is going on around us. Because, Tony Robbins says this, and I think it's a great philosophy, is that nothing in this life has any meaning except for the meaning that you give it. And
Yep.
so, with that theory leading your business, what can you do to ensure that you only have control over your own actions and how you're internalizing something? I think this is also a great lesson for
Yeah.
kids. I've been working on this with
Yeah.
my own daughter, who's 11 years old and suffers from a lot of anxiety. And so it's, what meaning are we going to give
Yes.
to the external results that we're getting? Now, we can talk about consistency and making sure that we are, measure, like, we have to measure what we're doing, right? We have to be able to look at the data, but a data is a number and it's completely neutral.
Mhm.
And I talk about this a lot with my coaching clients, is that we have to be committed to the result. We have to be committed to the goal, but we have to detach ourselves from what it means. We
Mhm.
have to be committed. We have to ensure that the product that we're giving, especially as admin, the product that we're providing, or the project that we're working on, that we hold it to a high standard, but we have to be removed
Mhm.
emotionally from
Yeah.
what the data is saying, because data is there to be it's to provide the feedback. It's
Yeah.
to show, what should we be tweaking? What should we be doing differently? It doesn't mean that you're failing. It just
Right.
means that we have to evolve, or we have to pivot, as Ross would say, pivot. We
Yep.
have to pivot how we are doing something, especially in today's market, right, Carrie? The
Yeah.
conversations need to evolve. Our skill set needs to evolve. What we were doing last year,
Yeah.
2 years ago, 3 years ago, it will not work today.
No.
So we cannot be attached, right, emotionally to what we were doing before and expect the same results. We're in a totally we're in a new, I don't know, like a new time.
Mhm.
We're in a new market.
Yep.
And so what are you doing every single day to ensure that you have control over what you're internalizing? And then how are you evolving?
Yeah, I think if we just focus on what we find to be important to us in our life and our business in all the different areas, and we create those internal benchmarks and we set those intentions, and then we reflect at the end of the day, and we know that we did some of those things every day. It doesn't matter what's going on around us. It doesn't matter what market we're in. It doesn't matter any of those things. We will consistently show up in the way that we want to and need to show up in order for us to feel successful, to feel worthy, to feel purposeful, to feel like we're living out something important, because we all want to feel that way, to feel that we are doing something that's moving the needle forward. And then we don't have to worry about what is happening around us. We can go in confidence, knowing that we're going to have the results that we ultimately need, because there is just there's no way that if we continue to consistently put out effort, that we won't get some kind of result. So we just have to
Yes.
exercise that faith muscle, and then we got to go do the things. And so initially, when you and I were talking, I was talking about the questions you can ask yourself to
Yeah.
activate the internal validation. But in our conversation, what would be best in both Haley and my opinion as coaches would be to set them as intentions in the morning when you journal. It could take 5 minutes. And then at the end of your day, when you assess what you did and you're checking off your list, because that is something that's good to do for many of us, and it makes us feel accomplished, and we can leave our day feeling good, going and be present with the family, because we're
Right.
not worrying about the things we forgot. And also, we have motivation for the next day, because there is an attachment there to feeling like we accomplish something, to feel motivated to go accomplish more the next day. If we feel like we were not accomplishing anything, we don't feel motivation to go accomplish something the next day. There is a link there psychologically that we can use these questions as intentions first, and then basically as reflection in the afternoon before you leave the day. So let's go through some of the questions.
Yeah. So Carrie had come up with this great list of questions, and they are: did you try something new today? Did you meet someone new today? Did you learn something new today? That's so important. What did you learn, right? What did you take away?
Yeah.
Did you communicate with your sphere of influence, your social media followers, or your emails list? Were you kind to someone today? I'm going to even extend that. Were you kind to yourself today?
Yes.
Did you help someone today? Did you teach something today? Did you take care of yourself today? Did you spend focused quality time with your family and a friend today? And did you take steps toward achieving a short-term or long-term goal today? These are all questions that I think are really powerful to getting to know yourself. And so Carrie and I talked a little bit about, in our conversation in prepping for this, belief versus knowing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so these questions help you become more self-aware. I had somebody recently ask me, how do I believe in myself more? Well, I think that we start with first thinking, what is our intention? Who do we want to be? What do we want to do? What's the impact that we want to make? Who do we need to be in order to step into a greater version of ourselves? So we first start to think, then we start to believe in ourselves, right? We start to believe like, oh, I can do this, right? But belief is not enough. Belief still leaves room for self-doubt. In order to level up your confidence in yourself, you really need to know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts by asking yourself these questions. Understanding yourself, knowing yourself, then leads into I am. I am doing this. I am enough. I am worthy. And you have the internal validity that you need. So you think, then you believe, then you know, and then you become I am, which then it subsides the gap between the belief and the knowing, which then limits your self-doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, believing just means that you think you can.
Yeah.
You act very differently when you think you can do something versus you know
knowing.
you can do something. When you know you can do something, you just do it. And you just get yourself into action because you truly know with every part of your being that you can do it. And sometimes you have to go back to what you have done. It doesn't have to be the same thing that you're trying to do now, but reflect on the things that you have accomplished, the hard times you have gone through, how you have shown up. And a lot of people don't spend time reflecting on that.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're always thinking about what we haven't done or what we don't know how to do, or that's what our brain tricks us into thinking about. So really getting to know yourself is absolutely what Haley said, and reflecting on how you've already shown up and what you've been through and what you've accomplished. Even if it's not the exact same thing you're trying to accomplish, you can prove to yourself that at that time you didn't think you could accomplish that either, but you do know that you know for a fact you did it, and therefore you can do this again. And I think it's just a change in mindset. Stop saying I believe in myself and start saying I know I can. I know myself. I know I've shown up before. I know I can do it again. And sometimes it's just the words you use that can make how you show up so much different.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for this amazing conversation, Carrie. And of course, anybody who's listening, any resources that you need around this, or if you want to have a conversation about how internal validity can show up in your business at a higher level, please reach out to us, because we love being able to connect with all of our agents here at EXP. So up next, we have the last session of the 3-part series by Shemika Fox, Growing Your Business Organically. Today, she's going to show you how to increase your business without relying on paid advertising or other expensive marketing methods. So this is going to be a great conversation, you guys. Stay tuned. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
Shemika Fox here with eXp Realty, and this is part 3 of a 3-part series talking about growing our business organically. And I'm going to talk about something that might not sound that organic, but it is in the nature of not paying for online leads. Okay. Open houses are a great way to grow your business organically. You get to meet people face to face. But what if you took that open house and you put it on steroids? So is this your listing, or are you hosting somebody else's open house? Is a great question. But what if you, no matter what, every time you hosted an open house, you sent 100 handwritten invitations to this open house to the entire neighbor, canvassing the entire neighborhood of 100 neighbors, inviting them to an exclusive pre-public open house so that you could get to know the neighbors, you could show them the house that's for sale, and you could position yourself again as the expert. Wouldn't that be amazing? So what if you did that? Maybe, I don't know, everybody got the invitation on Wednesday and you were hosting Saturday from 10 to 12, and then the public open house from 1 to 4, and from 10 to 12 you served coffee and donuts. I think people would come. Now, what if you did that and then you also went around to the neighborhood that you just sent 100 cards to and you knocked on their door? Again, I'm trying to give you ideas where you can be natural, add value, and organically introduce yourself to people so that they can get to know you, like you, trust you. And if they've just received in the mail a handwritten invitation inviting them to an exclusive open house for the neighbors so that they could check out the house, and then you personally go over and show up at their doorstep and say, hey, I wanted to invite you, and you could even have something else of value. I don't care. Maybe you want to print some pens or a notebook, or give them some chocolate and say, we're going to have coffee and donuts on Saturday from 10 to 12. Come by and check it out. And here's a little chocolate for you and your family. Think of something creative. Think of something fun. Think of something that gives you a reason to be at somebody's doorstep, that adds value to their life, and that will inevitably grow your business. That's what you should be doing. So that's open houses. Speaking of door knocking, to invite people to your open house, which will also not only make your business grow, but it also make the sellers very happy with the effort that you're putting in to drive traffic into their home to sell it faster and for more money. The other thing that you should do is pop buys. Now, pop buys, if you're a fan of Brian Buffini, I'm sure you've heard of the term pop buys, is literally dropping off a gift at your sphere of influence's house, going and knocking on their door and delivering something of value, a gift, let's just talk about gifts. Let's just talk about what we would drop off. So we do quarterly pop buys because it takes a lot of time and it can be expensive. You can do things on a budget, but we do quarterly because we feel like we can really canvas an area, we can really dedicate the time, and we can really show our love and our care if we do it quarterly rather than monthly. So once a quarter, we will go to approximately 20 to 25 of our friends, family, clients' homes, and we will deliver gifts such as, we have purchased the book, The Go-Giver, which is one of my favorite books. If you haven't read it, you should absolutely read it. But it is one of my favorite books. It came with a handwritten note saying, hey, this is one of my favorite books. I wanted to share it with you. And then we also had inside printed a bookmark that's branded to our company, Fox Realty Group. So then they have an item of value, something that we found of value, a book that we liked, something that we're sharing with them. They had something that's branded so they remember where they got it, and they had a little handwritten note. And if the people were home, you got to have a conversation with them. Does this work to grow your business organically? Abso-freaking-lutely. Can I say that on here? Absolutely, if I can't. Because people are seeing you and they're remembering you're in real estate. And we have done this now for 2 years. And I would have to look at my numbers definitively, but we've closed 3 transactions as a result. And I'm not going to say it was a direct result because these are people that are already in our database. They already know us, but they said, oh my gosh, I've been meaning to call you. We are thinking about putting our house on the market. Can you come back and do a market analysis? Or, oh my gosh, I've been meaning to call you. We want to purchase a home. Our kids are moving to the neighborhood and we need to get something for them. So in the last 2 years, just pop buys alone, we have closed, I believe, at least 3 transactions. It could have even been more. So it's just, again, it's growing your business organically is because you're staying top of mind. You are putting yourself in front of the people who already know you, like you, and trust you, and just might need a little bit of a reminder that, hey, you're still here. Hey, you still care. And hey, you're ready to serve them. So another idea or another thing that we have done for the pop buys is we partnered with a local coffee roasting company. We gave little bags of coffee. They are branded to the coffee roasting company and branded to us. We left them on the doorstep or we handed to them if they're home. Over the holidays, we went a little bit bigger and we did a beautiful bouquet, a bag of chocolates, and a handwritten note. We have also delivered a little, we live in a beach town. So over the summer, a little beach toy bag. So plastic toys and just like, hey, have a wonderful summer. We're thinking about you and wanted to say hello. So pop buys are a really, really good way to stay top of mind and to grow your business organically. Again, inevitably, if somebody's home and you're dropping something off of value, you're not really intruding on their space. You can say, hey, just dropping this off. I don't need to take any of your time. And usually they're going to want to talk to you. at least for 5 minutes. And they're going to want to talk about real estate because that's a really fun subject and everybody likes talking about real estate. So you've added value to their life. You've shown them that you've cared. And now you're also the expert in real estate in the industry that you serve. And then the last thing that I want to talk about in this 3-part series when you are growing your business organically is really making sure that on a weekly basis, you are touching your entire database. And this is a little less personal, meaning that you are not directly contacting them, but you're sending out an e-newsletter to your entire database. So even if they do not open the newsletter, they see your name at the top of the screen for long enough to have to delete it, right? So then once a week, you've just popped up on the top of their email list, your name. Usually if you structure your newsletter, then it's valuable to them, and there are right ways to do it. So the way that we do it is at the very bottom, we're going to add all of our listings because we want to promote our listings wherever we can. We want to talk about our open houses and invite them to that. But we are going to show events that are happening in our local Santa Cruz area, art and wine festivals, races that are here. We're going to talk about any trends that are happening in real estate, like design trends or preparing your home for sale trends, or a negotiation tactic for a buyer, so that each little section of our newsletter is value the entire way through. They will read it, they will share it, they will look at it, and they will ask to be added to it. And even if they don't, you've popped up on their email for at least 10 seconds for that one time a week for as long as they are subscribed to your email list. And that in and of itself is adding value to them, and you are growing your business organically. So that is the last part of a 3-part series on how to stay top of mind and how to grow your business organically. Remember to really show your passion and care for all of your people in your database. Make sure that they know you are the expert in the industry, and make sure that you stay top of mind, and your business will grow organically.
Ooh, folks, that was Shemika Fox. Amazing session. That was part 3 of her 3-part series. So if you're interested in tuning into the first 2 of those sessions, look back on the Level Up playlist on the eXp Realty YouTube channel. Make sure that while you're there, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe, because we want to make sure that you don't miss anything that we've got coming up in the future. We've got some good stuff coming up. So if you don't know me, my name is Alyssa Specht. I'm with eXp University. I'm so excited to be here with you. And I want to let you know what we've got. We've got one more session today. Super excited about it because we're talking about utilizing and leveling up with lease options. Very interesting, something that we can all consider right now. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you JaLynn Manser.
Hey everyone, JaLynn Manser here. I live in the Phoenix, Arizona downtown area metro, and I am here to talk to you about how you too can level up by utilizing the power and leverage of lease options. So let me ask you a question. How many of you would like to add an extra 1 to 3 deals or more to your pipeline and to your funnel, your closings every month? Wouldn't that be amazing? Well, I will tell you, my business, I've been doing lease options for about the past 6 years. It comprises about 95% of my production and closing on average about 6 to 8 deals a month. So I don't know what your market is like, but my average market here is about a $400,000 to $500,000 price point at a 2.5% commission. You guys can do the math on that. So my story real quick, I basically went from a stay-at-home mom 6 years ago to a single mom of 3 lovely daughters. I ended up becoming a barista at Starbucks. I just thought that would be a good idea. So one day, one of the title officers came in from Stewart Title. We got to talking, and she said, "Hey, JaLynn, you know what? You would be a great title rep for Stewart Title." I'm like, "Great, what's that?" So long story short, through the process of going going through interviews, becoming hired as a title rep for Stewart Title, I started, calling on realtors, and all of a sudden I started getting a bunch of title orders from this guy named Brian Taylor. And so I was like, thank you for the business. And the buyer was this investor called HPA US1 LLC. I was like, what the heck is that? I kept getting all these title orders. So that is how I originally discovered lease options. And I'm going to go into the different ways and different companies you can utilize in order to do your lease option business. But first and foremost, many of you might be wondering, what the heck is a lease option anyway? I know that it can be commonly referred to out there as rent to own. I know a lot of the rent to own programs or people doing it out there, to be quite frank, it's a bit scammy. How they typically work is the landlord or owner of the home might require an option deposit up front of, let's say, $10,000 to $20,000, and they give you the option to buy the home. It could be at a preset price, or it could be whatever that home is at market value at the time when the tenant goes to actually purchase the home. So the reason why those typically aren't a good deal for the tenant is, number one, they make the monthly rent so super elevated, and supposedly a portion of the rent goes towards the purchase. However, typically the seller and the landlord makes the back end right to purchase price so super elevated that that tenant will actually never be able to buy the house because it will never appraise. So that's what a typical sort of scammy rent to own is. And so what I do is different. I do strictly lease options. It's strictly you're helping renters essentially get into a home, and they're renting with purpose. They're renting the home for as long as they like, but they also have the option to buy the home at a preset price. Now, with a lease option, it can be hugely beneficial for the resident because let's just use as an example a $400,000 house, and this resident is paying a monthly rent of, let's say, $2,300. They're just paying rent. They're going to be renting anyway, so why not rent someplace where they actually have the option to purchase it, right? So let's say they're paying rent and then they decide to exercise the right to purchase, which they're going to know upfront what that right to purchase price is. So let's say that the investor, the company, purchased that home for $400,000 all in with closing costs and everything. That resident would technically have the right to purchase that home for roughly about $425,000 to $430,000. Now, let's say that that same home a year from now is actually worth closer to $500,000. Guess what? That resident is locked in at that $425,000, $430,000 price because that's what they agreed upon up front before they even signed the price. So you can see how lease options can benefit the tenant because they're going to have all of this built-in equity, right? Conversely, let's say that the market decides to go in the other direction, and that same home, when they go to buy it, is only worth $400,000 instead of $425,000, what their right to purchase price is. So they have the option at that point in time to walk away. They're not locked in. There's zero obligation. I'm going to go into a little bit more details further into the presentation. That's basically what a lease option is. Now, who are lease options actually good for? And, how is this going to benefit you as far as the agent to generate more business? So lease options can be really good for somebody who is simply looking for a nicer place to rent. They want to get out of their apartment building. They want to get into an actual home. A lease option could be good for somebody who is really trying to buy right now, but they simply don't qualify because they don't have the down payment saved up. Because typically as most of you realtors know, in order to buy a house, unless you qualify for a no money down payment assistance program, you're going to have to come up with a minimum of 3.5% to go FHA, 3%, somewhere in there. So most people simply don't have the down payment in order to buy the home. Or maybe it's somebody who simply their credit score isn't quite good enough. So a lease option is good for those people who are building their credit, trying to get it up there into, the 700s, where they will be able to get a lower interest rate. So with the lease options, they're able to get locked into a home now and take that time to save up for the down payment, work on their credit score, and be able, when they're ready to buy the home, they'll have money and a better credit, so they'll be able to buy it, get a better interest rate. It's all good. Lease options are also, they can be good for people who are self-employed. They have a really difficult time proving income in order to qualify for a traditional mortgage. So with a lot of the lease option companies, a lot of different types of income can be considered, like, bank statements, deposits from Venmo, PayPal, Zelle, Cash App, all of that can be considered for income. Another great thing about lease options and who it would be good for, somebody that just transferred to a new city and state, maybe they just started a new job. Most lenders do require at least 2 years of solid income history with W-2s, pay stubs, tax returns. With qualifying somebody to get approved to go with lease option, you simply need anywhere from only 2 to 4 months of income, or you could possibly just use an offer letter or transfer letter stating what that pay rate is, the start date is, the location, etc. So it's much easier to qualify to get somebody into a home using the lease options. Another great person that lease options are good for is somebody who just went through a bankruptcy. Most lenders, depending on the type of financing, are going to require either 2 years or 4 years of bankruptcy seasoning in order to get you qualified, whether you're trying to go FHA or conventional. The nice thing about lease options, depending on which company you go with, and I'll go over that later, but one of our investors we work with, they only require that your bankruptcy be discharged just yesterday. It can be discharged 1 day ago, and they can get you qualified to get into a lease option home. So other than that, it could be this program could be good for somebody who simply just wants to try before they buy. They want to test out the market. They're not sure where their market's going to go. They're going to be renting anyway. So why not rent a place where if they decide a year from now, yes, we love the neighborhood, we love the home, we want to move forward, let's go for it. I did have some slides available. Ryan, would you go ahead and load those up? I totally forgot to load them earlier. Been just like talking. So we talked about what is a lease option. We talked about who are lease options good for. Let's talk about right now, how do you actually find these lease option clients? So really good resources are, let's see here. Let me go to my next slide here. Here we go. Really good resources for finding these clients who are perfect for a lease option program. A wonderful resource is reach out to your lender partners, find out, give them a call. Hey, do you have any borrowers you're having struggles with qualifying them? Maybe they were already in escrow and something happened where they went out and purchased a car and jacked up their overall DTI, their debt to income ratio. And so that escrow is falling apart. Those borrowers, you could step in and get them into a lease option, have one of the investors purchase the home for them. They're going to pay cash, and then they can take the time they need to get their DTI back down where it needs to be and, actually qualify to buy the home within a few short months. So that's a really great resource. Reach out to those lenders, find out who they're working with that just got turned down. They're not able to get qualified right now for whatever reason, whether it's down payment or credit score. Facebook Marketplace is another great place. You can post ads from EXP listings, whether they're for EXP rental listings or homes that are listed for sale. And I'll go into how that works here in a little bit. But basically, you're looking for people who are looking to rent. You're looking for renters, somebody who's looking to rent a home. So Craigslist is another great place. That's how we get the majority of our leads. And I would say 50% of our deals that we close come from Craigslist. Believe it or not, you do get a lot of people calling you and wondering if it's a scam. And of course, you have to reassure them. And luckily, we have enough collateral on our social media and website showing that, hey, we're real people. We're not going to scam you. We also have tons of testimonials and people for them to call just to verify. And, if you want to meet us in our office downtown, we're happy to meet you face to face as well. So Craigslist, and then rental listings, as I mentioned, you can take other people's EXP rental listings and you can promote them on your social media with the listing agent's permission, of course, and you can attract people who are looking to rent that home. And let's say that particular rental home doesn't necessarily fit what they're looking for. You can propose the lease option to them and say, hey, how would you like the opportunity to have a much broader pool of homes to choose from? Instead of looking at existing inventory, how about we get you pre-qualified to rent? You pick out the home you want to rent for the next year or two. Our company, the company we work with, they're going to buy the home for you. They're going to pay cash. You can buy it whenever you're ready. And so most people get really, really excited about that. The fact that they're able to get a rental home and have a lot more inventory to choose from. And it's really, really a great way for them to find a place to live. As I mentioned, regular EXP listings, you can actually promote EXP listings that are for sale, and you can market it as, this home is potentially available for our lease option program. Send me a message to inquire today how that works. So property management companies are also a great resource. You can reach out to them and say, hey, do you have an excess of renters calling you, trying to get into your rental properties, and you just simply have nowhere to put them? Well, let me help you. I can help get them into a rental home. Quite happy to pay you a referral fee. And they're quite happy to hand over these leads to you that they're not able to get into homes themselves, or perhaps they have much more stringent qualifications than what you have. And so they're really, really happy that you're able to help their clients get into a rental home. Oh, hey, Lindsay, good to see you. So let's see here. So those are some resources for finding leads. Now, okay, this is my favorite part. I love talking about the different lease option companies. Now, there are 4 that I am aware of. The top 3 I have worked with personally, and I'm going to talk about the differences of each. Hold on just a second. Hey, babe, can you come turn the beeper off? It's the dryer going. So Home Partners, and please, by all means, check your local market because some of these companies might not be available. So just do a search in your local market to find out what companies are available. So Home Partners, I love them because I've used them personally. I typically don't sell a product that I haven't used myself. So I'm not only an agent representing Home Partners of America, I'm an actual client. My husband and I used them to purchase a home for us up in Anthem, which is North Phoenix, about a year and a half, 2 years ago. So I'm going to give you a real life example of how this works with Home Partners. So Home Partners purchased a home for us to rent, and they bought it for $350,000. This was in October of 2021. 2020. Anyway, doesn't matter. So they bought it for $350,000. Our option price at that point in time, which we knew up front we were locked in, was $367,000. So they take, what they paid for it, plus any closing costs, plus any potential make ready repairs, right? So we had the option to buy that house for $367,000. So last year, we actually bought the house. We put it in our names. We bought it directly from Home Partners. So it was just at that point, just a straight for sale by owner transaction. The appraisal came in at $538,000. Guess what? We got to buy it for $367,000. How amazing is that? I'm like blown away. I'm like so excited about this. I tell the entire world about Home Partners. I love them so much. So that's Home Partners. They basically get the tenants pre-qualified to rent. You take the tenants out shopping for homes that are available for Home Partners to purchase. The tenant moves in about 45 days later after we go under contract. They can rent the home as long as they want to. The rent price is going to be locked in for 5 years. The rent is not going to be arbitrarily increased each year by $300, $400, $500. It's also locked in at a preset amount, which is roughly about 3% increase year over year. So that's really nice, really gives renters a lot of reassurance knowing that their rent is not going to go up dramatically year over year. So yeah, the tenant can rent the home as long as they want, or they can exercise their right to purchase anytime after they move in up until the end of year 5. So figure if you can't get yourself in a position to buy the house within that 5-year period, then I'm not doing my job in educating you enough as to what you need to do and the steps you need to take to get your credit improved and save that down payment and actually achieve the goal of home ownership. So I'm super passionate about helping renters get into homes and then actually helping them buy it. So that's Home Partners in a nutshell. And they do purchase homes in 45 markets. So hopefully, Google them. Hopefully they're in your market or nearby, close enough to where you could, help renters get into homes there. Another great program that I love and we've used also personally ourselves as a company called Trio. Now, Trio is different from Home Partners. They're not a cash buyer. They actually have their own in-house FHA loan. Same premise, you get the tenant pre-qualified to rent, you take them out shopping, Trio purchases the home for the tenant can rent the home. There is a savings portion that goes towards the purchase. It's anywhere from 1 to 2%, depending on your credit score and the amount of down payment that you put down. So we also used Trio to purchase a home for us down in downtown Phoenix. Now, the cool thing about Trio is if you're able to qualify within that 24-month period, they actually give you a 36-month worth of credits for having been a good girl or a good boy and paying your rent on time for 24 months. And they also allow you to assume the FHA loan. So basically, even though you've been paying rent, you've been paying down that FHA mortgage the whole time. So example on that one, Trio paid $325,000 for that home for us in downtown Phoenix. This was a couple of years ago. Our normal option price is roughly $362,000 if we elect not to assume the FHA loan. Let's say that we don't qualify because we have very non-traditional type income, as most realtors do, right? So we actually have the option to assume that FHA loan for only $319,000. I'm like, what? The home right now, I ran some quick comps and looked on Redfin. It's worth probably close to $450,000. So we're definitely in a good equity position. We're probably going to turn around and flip it and sell it and pocket the cash. But just wanted to help you guys understand and realize the power of not only helping people to get into homes utilizing lease options, but how it could actually benefit you as well if you wanted to do it yourself. Like, why not? Another investor that I love working with is called Divvy. They're similar to Home Partners. They're also a cash buyer. They do close a lot faster. And the nice thing about Divvy is they don't have any restrictions on where you can buy a home versus Home Partners. They have little pockets of neighborhoods where you're restricted to buying homes. Certain zip codes and areas are not allowed because they're not in approved school districts or whatnot. Divvy, they don't care where you want to buy a home as long as it's in a major metro area. They don't have like approved high school zones or zip codes. Now, With Divvy, a portion of the rent does go towards the purchase. They do have a couple of different options there, but they call it a forced savings. And if you are anything like me, I am a horrible saver. So Divvy is really geared towards somebody who's truly wanting to become a homeowner here in the next 18 months to 36 months. Divvy is a great option. It will help get your client in the position to actually be able to purchase the home. Now, Pathway is not one that I am personally experienced with, but I've seen them all over the place. I think they're pretty similar to Home Partners, but I would definitely check them out. And then let's see here. I think that's enough with talking about the different companies available. I'm not sure if I have forgotten anything, but you guys wouldn't know that anyway. But here are my socials. Here's how to connect with me. We've got all sorts of videos on my YouTube channel talking about lease options. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, or send me a message on Workplace Chat if you would like some more information on how to do lease options and how to cultivate leads, even if it's utilizing KV Core, and exactly if you want more information on how we do it as far as generating leads and creating more business and helping more people, I would love to chat with you. Let's connect. I am wrapping up the presentation here. Ryan, take it away.